The youngest bucks versus the biggest unks in every single UFC division. The matchups. I want to talk about every matchup in every division out of that and talk about who would win those fights and how they would win and the method of how they would win. That's the most important thing. This is 100% one of the most serious videos I've ever made on this channel. So 100% watch to the end, because if you don't, you'll be heavily disappointed. Let's get right into the flyweights, where we're talking about literally the biggest unk at flyweight, Tim Elliott, at 38 years old, going against the good old young buck, Joshua Van. And let me just say, Joshua Van would absolutely freaking box the nose and head off of Tim Elliott. Joshua Van would be hitting Tim Elliott with the meanest boxing combos to the body and to the head, and Tim Elliott will be bloody, just going around the octagon like trying to get his breath. He can't do it. Joshua Van's just beating him up, but not enough to stop the fight. And I think Tim Elliott would take an absolute beatdown. However, Tim Elliott in this third round is going to start Neil Magny maxing. He's going to clinch up Joshua Van. Then he's going to get the craftiest judo throw takedown you've ever seen in your entire life. Then he's going to transition into a knee bar, and he's going to take Joshua Van's knee with him with a bloodied face, get up with a Bud Light in his hand, and he's going to go to the barbecue right after the match. That's what's going to happen. I think Tim Elliott takes home the win after getting 10-8'd in the first and second round. He comes back and gets a crafty unk knee bar to destroy Joshua Van's knee in the third round. 100% would be the result of this fight. And yeah, I'm excited to see whenever this matchup gets announced. Let's get on to the next one, where we have Rosas Jr. versus Raoni Barcelos. We're talking an 18-year difference in age. Raoni Barcelos is definitely the biggest unk at bantamweight. He just absolutely unk-maxed against Peyton Talbot and took him to school like he was his son. And let me say, this would be a 30-24 domination by Peyton maxing. Raoni Barcelos would get on Raul Rosas' back and chant, "Who's the man now?" And he would just beat up the side of Raul Rosas' head. He might even knock his face back into regular shape. Who knows? But yeah, Raoni Barcelos would put an absolute unk clinic on Raul Rosas Jr., just taking his back every single round and just not even submitting him, just beating him up and big daddy and him, saying, you know what? I'm your daddy, kid. I'm 18 years older. I literally could be your father. So sit here and take this beating and let me show you what grappling is from a real unk like myself. And Raul Rosas Jr. is just going to say, look, guys, gee wee-wees, the unk man beat me up. But I think Raoni Barcelos 100% takes this one home, because, listen, man, after you see what he did to Peyton Talbot, there's not a way in this world that Raul, the caveman face Rosas Jr. would be able to do anything against crafty man Barcelos, who would win a 30-24 decision by unk destruction. Let's get on to the next fight, which would be in the featherweight division, where we have John the Chihuahua Silva versus Cub Unk Swanson. A 14-year age gap between these two guys. And listen, I think Cub Swanson would have a y'all must have forgot type performance in the first two rounds. Let me tell you what would happen. Cub Swanson would come out there, you know, he would be landing his nice combos. He would have a cigarette in one hand and a right hand on John Silva's face in the other hand, if that even makes sense. Cub Swanson will be boxing and beating up John Silva. John Silva will be coming forward, just frustrated in the fight. But in the first and second round, Cub Swanson just going to be beating up John Silva. But in the third round, John Silva is going to hit Cub Swanson with the biggest, nerdiest uppercut you've ever seen. He's just going to go skadoosh right on Cub Swanson's chin, knock him into the shadow realm, and then John Silva is going to start. You're just going to start barking on Cub Swanson's grave, and that'll be the end of the fight as we know it. Cub Swanson's going down, and there's nothing he can do about it, and John Silva will take his unk spirit and drag his carcass across the UFC octagon. 100% what is happening. This is going to be a banger, though, and I can't wait until this fight happens. Let's get on to the next matchup, which is actually going down. Chase Hooper versus Jim Miller. And if you want to talk about a young buck versus an unk, look at these two in this video on the screen right now. Chase Hooper is the youngest buck of youngest bucks. Jim Miller, man, he's just an unk. He looks like he walks around with a Bud Light anywhere he goes, and he looks like he has a barbecue pit in the back of his truck anywhere he goes, versus Roman Kopylov, Chase Hooper, whatever you want to call him. And listen, I think that Jim Miller in the fight would be piecing up Chase Hooper on the feet, and I think he would hit the ground, and Jim Miller would have a crafty man session against him. He would be pulling guillotines, not get it, but come close, and Jim Miller would just be beating up Chase Hooper on the ground, and then Chase Hooper in the third round would get up to his feet, land a very crafty head kick on Jim Miller, just like he did against Chris Curtis, and he would knock Jim Miller to the ground. Jim Miller would go down, oh my God, my Bud Light, and then Chase Hooper would hop on top, land a bunch of nasty elbows right to the forehead of Jim Miller, 41 years old, and he would send him to the GFL. That is 100% how this would happen, and Ben Askren's son will be one step closer to title contention. So yeah, this fight's actually happening, and guys, let me just say, if it doesn't go down exactly like I just said, mark my words, then you can hold me accountable for my false reality. So yeah, Chase Hooper is going to crafty man head kick Jim Miller just like he did to Chris Curtis, and that's my prediction. Moving on to the welterweight division, where we have Mr. Wobblestone, Cobblestone Knees, Kamaru, the Malteser head Usman versus Michael Morales. Now, Kamaru Usman would be getting beat up and just outboxed and worked by Michael Morales, who might even out-grapple him and out-wrestle him, but it doesn't matter because Kamaru Usman is going to be landing the most wobbly, cobblestone knees on the chest of Michael Morales, just beating him up against the fence, and then I think we might see the first toe stomp finish in UFC history. Kamaru Usman is just going to be landing some nasty toe stomps. He might even lick his hand at one moment and just wrap it around Michael Morales' toe and just, and then he might just land the nastiest freaking toe stomp you've ever seen, and the ref might just step in the second round. And I think Usman might be the one to take Michael Morales' undefeated record just by, I don't know, just wobble, cobblestone, knees up the middle, and toe stomps. Eventually, the ref's going to have seen enough. Michael Morales is going to be wincing in pain at the absolute sheer ferocity of Kamaru Usman's toe stomps, and it's going to look like him versus Jorge Masvidal 1, just more brutal. And yeah, Michael Morales might be the first fighter in UFC history to actually lose his toe, so I'm actually very nervous for this matchup. I don't know if the UFC should put it together because I don't want to see a UFC fighter lose their toe. And as we know, Kamaru Usman's wobblestone, cobblestone knees are as dangerous as they come. So the toe stomps and the cobblestone knees, although Michael Morales will be dominating Usman, Usman will eventually get that toe stomp finish, and I think it'll be Usman getting back on track next against Michael Morales. I'm very excited for this matchup. The UFC is going to book this one soon. Mark my words. Yeah. Kamaru, the Nigerian Malteser head Usman, will toe suck Michael Morales. Moving on to that middleweight division, where we have literally the saltiest man of the face of the earth versus Jared Cannonier, who is the Cannon Man, as he calls himself. And listen, in the fight, I think Jared Cannonier is going to be looking to throw some cannonballs at the salt coming his way. He's going to be looking to throw some cannonballs, some right hands at Joe Pyfer. But Joe Pyfer, you know, he's going to eat it like he did against Jack Hermanson. But Cannonier is going to have a little bit more power. And Joe Pyfer is going to take some good bombs off of Jared Cannonier. But eventually, Jared Cannonier is going to get hit with the saltiest shot he's ever been hit with in his entire career. Joe Pyfer's just going to put a mean 1-2 with all the sodium he's ever put into any punch. And Jared Cannonier is going to go down. And instead of Joe Pyfer jumping on top of him and start beating him up so the ref stops it, no. He's going to grab Jared Cannonier by the arm and drag him around the octagon like he's dragging him into the salt mines. And then the ref will stop it just by sheer humiliation. So yeah, Joe Pyfer is going to win by way of sodium chloride. He's going to salty man his way into dragging Jared Cannonier into the salt mines, and the ref will have no choice to step in because what else is he going to do? We cannot watch Jared Cannonier just be drugged into the salt mines and brutalized like that on live television. So the ref's going to have no choice after he's been pulled around the octagon several times to say, all right, Jared Cannonier has seen the salt. He's seen the salt mines as well. It's time to call it a day. And yeah, Joe Pyfer will win by second round salt mines. And yeah, man, this is, like I said, this matchup is probably going to be happening International Fight Week. I'm excited to see it. And yeah, this is not a prediction. This is what's going to happen. I'm just letting you guys know. So yeah, Joe Pyfer versus Jared Cannonier. Be on the lookout for this one, guys. And moving on to the next one at light heavyweight, Zhang Mingyang versus Jan Blachowicz. We got the blockhead versus the block body. And let me just say, Jan Blachowicz is bringing the entire tool shed for this one. He's bringing the hammer. He's bringing the hacksaw, the jigsaw, everything. He's bringing the drill, the freaking, I don't know, man, everything. And he's going to crafty Polish man power Zhang Mingyang straight back to China. He's hitting Zhang Mingyang with invisible leg kicks. He's hitting him with crafty man headbutts, everything. Jan Blachowicz is going to come back with a bionic shoulder, almost 42 years old. You know, he's going to come back with his new shoulder out of surgery, and he's going to absolutely brutalize Zhang Mingyang. Mingyang's not going to know what hit him. This guy's going to go from a prospect to retired in 10 seconds whenever Jan Blachowicz puts that crafty man Polish power on him, and he's not going to know what hit him. But Zhang Mingyang in the fight will have false hope. In the first round, he's going to be out leg kicking Jan Blachowicz when all of a sudden he just feels a feeling of doom as the crafty man Polish power takes over. And once that Polish power takes over, Zhang Mingyang's just going to freeze, and Jan Blachowicz is going to be throwing out saws and hammer blades at him, and he's just going to finish the fight by crafty man Polish power. I think he's going to leg kick him to the knee, and then Zhang Mingyang's going to go down, and then Jan Blachowicz will capture another win to get his second shot at Alex Pereira. And I am excited for that one, boys. And last but not least, definitely not least, we got Marcin Tybura, 39 years old, versus Taliesin Teixeira, just 24. As we saw this past weekend, Taliesin Teixeira just put an absolute beatdown on Justin Tafa in a few seconds. But that's not going to matter because Marcin Tybura is not just a blob, guys. He is the king of the blobs. He marches with the blob flag. He has a blob tattooed on his back. It doesn't matter what Taliesin Teixeira does. It doesn't matter if he's 8 inches taller and got way longer reach, because at the end of the day, dude, Marcin Tybura will max his way into blob destruction. Taliesin Teixeira is going to look to be dangerous in the striking and push Marcin Tybura against the fence, but Marcin Tybura is literally going to do a somersault forward. He's going to knock Taliesin Teixeira on his back, do a belly flop up and down 6 times, and that's when this is going to be a first-round finish for Marcin Tybura, 100%. Because after those few belly flops, Taliesin Teixeira is going down. He's already going to be down, but he's going to be flopping on the ground like a fish, while Marcin Tybura is just going to be doing the worm after he just successively blob-mogged Taliesin Teixeira. And yeah, Marcin Tybura probably will get a title shot after this win, just because it'll be the most impressive and creative win in UFC history. I mean, literally flopping on the ground like a fish will be Taliesin Teixeira while Marcin Tybura does belly flops on him. Tell me you've ever seen that in a fight. And yeah, man, this is the biggest unks versus the youngest bucks in every UFC division, and I think this is quite accurately how it's going to go down, guys. So yeah, drop a like on the video if you enjoy it. I always appreciate you guys, and I'm out. Peace.